Hello, everyone. I have to use a mic because this is being recorded, so they don't trust my booming, projecting voice. So I must use a small, mellow DJ voice today. How you guys doing? How are you?
Good.
Thanks for coming out, guys. Thanks for coming out to the Belle of Amherst, performed by Professor Janet Raskin. For those of you who are not familiar, this is kind of a very short and brief autobiography of Emily Dickinson, little aspects of her life and tastes of her poems, which is very beautiful. I don't know if any of you are familiar with Emily Dickinson. I mean, the name is household, you know? I think people who don't even read have heard the name Emily Dickinson at one point, you know what I mean? So that's good, you know? That's a good thing. So anyway, I'm not going to spend too much time because I want you guys to go ahead and enjoy the show. So number one, first and foremost, as always, guys, turn off your phones, please. Emily Dickinson did not have cell phones, okay? I know some of your ringtones are pretty cool, but we got Rihanna coming out while she's, talking about her poems. I don't know if that's fitting for her time period. Okay, so guys, please make sure. Also, please do not hold up and start recording. Don't do that. You're distracting people around you, and it's distracting also to Professor Raskin as she's performing. Okay? Got it, guys? Yeah. I don't think I need to say anything. Most of you guys are theater people, so I don't think I need to say much else, right? So let's not waste any more time. By the way, guys, I hope you all are enjoying the MIFA week. I hope you guys have seen plenty of stuff. If you don't have this week's program, if you don't have a program, we've got extra programs here. Feel free to get them on your way out, so that way you know of other events. We have another, the Penn Players have hooked up with SEDT, or School of Entertainment Design and Technology tonight, for a live stage play reading of Funny Man, starring many of our, all the actors are all Penn Players, and so we're working in conjunction with them. That's tonight at 6 in room 2147 in the screening room. So guys, go out tonight, go see some stuff, okay? So anyway, thank you. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, the Belle of Amherst.
My introduction. Black cake, my own special recipe. Forgive me if I'm frightened. I never see strangers and hardly know what to say. My name is Emily Elizabeth Dickinson. Elizabeth is for my Aunt Elizabeth Currier. She's father's sister. Oh, how the trees stand up straight when they hear Aunt Libby's little boots come thumping into Amherst. She's the only male relative on the female side. Oh, but I don't use my middle name anymore. Not since I became a poet. Well, Professor Higginson, the literary critic, doesn't think that my poems are, well, no matter. I've had 7 poems published, anonymously to be sure. So you see why I prefer to introduce myself to you as a poet? Well, here in Amherst, I'm known as Squire Edward Dickinson's half-cracked daughter. Well, I am. The neighbors can't figure me out. I don't cross my father's ground to any house or town. I haven't left the house in years. Why should I socialize with the village gossips? Why, one old lady came to the door the other day hoping to get a peek inside. I surprised her by answering the door myself. She stammered something about looking for a house to buy. To spare the expense of moving, I directed her to the cemetery. Lovely. Oh, the recipe? Oh, yes, it's very simple. That's my black cake. I'll give you the recipe. 2 pounds of flour, 2 pounds of sugar, 2 pounds of butter, 19 eggs, 5 pounds of raisins, 1.5 pounds of citron, 1.5 pounds of currants, 1.5 pints of molasses, 5 nutmegs, 2 teaspoons each of mace, clove, and cinnamon, and 2 teaspoons of soda and 1.5 teaspoons of salt. Everybody loves it. I hope you will too. Oh, sometimes I bake one for a neighbor, and then I enclose a short note, which is usually so obscure no one can understand it. Well, I hear my notes are becoming collector's items in the village. People are comparing them to see who has the strangest one. Oh, that reminds me. I must send a note to Mrs. Hills. She's just been admitted to the Maplewood Infirmary. Surgeons must be very careful when they take the knife. Underneath their fine incisions stirs the culprit. Life. That'll cheer her up. Oh, I do have fun with them. My menagerie. Small towns must have their local characters, and for Amherst, that's what I am. But do you know something? I enjoy the game. Now, I've never said this to anyone, but I'll tell you. I do it on purpose. The white dress, the seclusion, it's all deliberate. Oh, my brother Austin, he knows. He says, "Emily, stop your posing." Sometimes I think the stories about me distress him. But in a way, the stories are true. Oh, I believe in the truth. But I think it can be slanted just a little. Do you know what I'm saying? Tell all the truth, but tell it slant. Success in circuit lies. Too bright for our infirm delight, the truth's superb surprise. As lightning to the children eased with explanation kind, so the truth must dazzle gradually, or every man be blind. Words are my life. I look upon words as entities, sacred blessings. A word is dead when it is said, some say. I say it just begins to live that day. There are words I lift my hat to when I see them sitting on the page. Sometimes I write one. Phosphorescence. Now there's a word to lift your hat to. Can you spell it? To find that phosphorescence, that light within, that is the genius behind poetry. Do you know that every one of you is, to me, a poem? You and you, each one a rare creation. That is why I love you and you love me, whether we recognize it or not. I discovered that secret a long time ago about the souls of people. The poet lights the lamp and then goes out himself. But the light goes on and on. If I can stop one heart from breaking, I shall not live in vain. If I can ease one life the aching, or cool one pain, or help one fainting robin unto its nest again, I shall not live in vain. People have a difficult time believing that I had a normal childhood. I suppose I'm partly to blame for that false impression. Actually, at 15, I was a very typical Amherst girl. I went to dances. I giggled my way through parties. I went to scores of parties. I was trying very hard to believe that I was a ravishing beauty. I was infatuated with one dashing young man after another, only they didn't know it. Or if they did, they were smarter than I gave them credit for. And I sent Valentines. Austin! Austin! How many Valentines has my handsome brother received? 11? Why, I haven't received any. Well, Vinny's received some beautiful ones, but I've almost lost hope. Austin? Austin, do you think you could come in here a minute? Which one do you prefer? Do you think the heart's too big? The Cupids. Austin, do you think you could tell Thomas that I'm simply pining away for a Valentine? Well, surely he hasn't lost his former affection for me. Well, why can't you? Well, there you are with 11 Valentines, and your highly accomplished and gifted sister has been almost entirely overlooked. Please? Austin? Come back here! What are brothers for? I am growing handsome very fast indeed. I expect I shall be the Belle of Amherst by the time I reach my 17th year. No doubt I shall have perfect crowds of admirers at that age. And then at dances, how I shall delight to make them wait and keep them in suspense while I make my final decision. Why, James Francis Billings, what handsome whiskers. How have you been? Oh, yes, this is a wonderful party. Oh, thank you. It's a Gaudy's Ladies Book pattern. Oh, yes, July is a glorious month. Oh, thank you. Delicious refreshments, yes. Have you sampled the rhubarb cupcakes? I made them myself. Oh, you don't like rhubarb? Oh, well, I guess a lot of people don't like rhubarb. Oh, yes, I adore cooking. I can't get enough of it. Mother says that any man I marry will... My sister? Yes, Lavinia is well, thank you. Yes, I'll tell her. Mr. Billings, how do you like going to school at Ipswich Seminary? Mr. Billings? Mr. Billings? It seems that Mr. Billings found the pretty girl in yellow. Father's house and my garden. This is my world. And for companions, I have the hills and the sundowns, and my dog, Carlo, large as myself, a Newfoundland that Father bought me. You see, I never had to go anywhere to find my paradise. I found it all right here, in the only world I ever wanted. Here, in Amherst, Massachusetts. Massachusetts. Now there's a word to lift your hat to. Paradise is no journey because it is within, but for that very cause it is the most arduous of journeys. I travel the road into my soul all the time. I dwell in possibility, a fairer house than prose, more numerous of windows, superior for doors, for chambers as the cedars, impregnable of eye, and for the everlasting roof, the gables of the sky. For visitors, the fairest, for occupation, this. The spreading wide my narrow hands to gather paradise. Nature is the highest form of art, don't you think? Why, just to see the summer sky is poetry. Oh, how I love the beginning of school each year. My girlfriends and I had such good times together. There was social graces with Miss Woodbridge. Knees straight, shoulders back. Very good, Miss Dickinson. Thank you, Miss Woodbridge. During our last semester, we girls formed a Shakespeare Society. That was my idea. And then we invited the boys to join. That was my idea too. At our first meeting, we were to read The Tempest. Good afternoon, Tutor Crowell. You want us to take out all our copies and cross out the questionable passages? Well, what do you mean questionable, Mr. Crowell? Decency? Well, what good will crossing them out do? I've already read them. And so has Abby. And Jenny, haven't you girls? Anyway, how do we dare edit Shakespeare, Mr. Crowell? Well, I disagree. It says in Hamlet there's nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. Anyway, I don't want marks in my book. All right, you boys can do as you please, but we girls don't think there's anything wicked in Shakespeare, and if there is, we don't want to know about it. We shall read everything, Mr. Crowell, naughty words and all. Come on, girls. Monster, I do smell all horse piss, at which my nose is in great indignation. Come to my woman's breast and take my milk for gall, you murthering ministers. Lady, shall I lie in your lap? No, my lord. I meant my head upon your lap. Aye, my lord. Did you think I meant country matters? I think nothing, my lord. There's a fair thought to lie between maids' legs. What is, my lord? Nothing. What must they cause? Adultery? Thou shalt not die for adultery, no. Why, the wren goes to it, and the small gilded fly does lecture in my sight. Let copulation thrive. How do you like that, Mr. Crowell? If I had only one book to read, Shakespeare would be enough. Father never kissed us goodnight in his life. He loved us, but oh, he was so austere. Why, he hardly ever smiled. You see? He looks like a bear. Father did not approve of Santa Claus and all such prowling gentlemen. And Father was the only one in the family allowed to say damn. when he said it, he meant it. Why, if his newspaper was ever misplaced, damn! He was the only one allowed to say it. Father forbade many things. I remember when he discovered I was writing until 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. Oh, Father, I thought you were asleep. No, I didn't notice the time. 2 o'clock. Is it that late? Oh, but this is the only time when the house is quiet, Father. Except for Vinnie. She snores like a poker and a shovel and a pair of tongs. Yes, Father. I know you have a rule about early rising, but I haven't missed a morning, have I? Tired? I do? Well, I was writing. Yes, Father. Good night. Just a poem. Now? Out loud? To make a prairie. A prairie, Father. To make a prairie, it takes a clover and 1 bee. 1 clover and a bee and reverie. The reverie alone will do if bees are few. Another one. Oh, excuse me, Father. I keep all of my finished poems in here. I'll tell you how the sun rose, a ribbon at a time. The steeple swam in amethyst. The news like squirrels ran. The bobolinks begun. I said softly to myself, that must have been the sun. Oh, cancel the rule. Then I can sleep late in the mornings. Oh, thank you, Father. He sometimes yielded when I least expected it. My father. The first time we parted, 1847, I was 16. I entered Mount Holyoke Female Seminary, which was run by Miss Mary Lyon. Some called her the Dragon. Miss Lyon classified us in 3 categories. Professed Christians, had hope, and without hope. Naturally, I was in charge of that group. One evening, Miss Lyon asked all those who desired to be in service to Christ to rise at the meeting and declare herself. I'm sorry, Miss Lyon, but I can't rise. Yes, ma'am, I know I'm the only one left without hope. But the Spirit hasn't moved me yet. Oh, yes, ma'am, I appreciate your offer of mercy. I know the world is a sinful and wicked place, but the path of duty doesn't look very, well, it doesn't look very attractive to me. Why must religion be made so grim, so dull? Why must we be made to feel so guilty? Sermons, sermons, sermons. I only heard one sermon I ever liked, and that was when the Reverend Douglas preached on unbelief. Some keep the Sabbath going to church. I keep it staying at home, with a bobolink for a chorister and an orchard for a dome. Some keep the Sabbath in circles. I just wear my wings, and instead of tolling the bell for church, our little sexton sings. God preaches, unknown clergyman, and his sermons are never long. So instead of getting to heaven at last, I'm going all along. In the name of the bee and of the butterfly, Miss Lyon, I have read the Bible, both the Old and the New Testaments. Well, at first I thought it was an arid book, and then I found it to be wise and a bit merry. Yes, ma'am. Merry. I did not return to Mount Holyoke the following year. You might say I wore out my welcome with Miss Lyon, and Father wanted me home besides. Just after my 25th birthday, Austin came home from law school and never left Amherst again. Father offered to build him a house right next door if he'd stay. And probably Sue influenced him too. Susan Gilbert was engaged to marry Austin at the time Father made his generous and unselfish offer. Well, if we look out the window from this room, we can look over to Sue's house. We call it the Evergreens. This, of course, is the homestead. There's a path that runs between that is just wide enough for two who love. Sue and I used it more than anyone. Sue was the only one who understood my need to write. I love Sue dearly. But I don't think she understood my love. Perhaps I don't understand it myself. You see, I've always been very intense about friendships. At times, my love overwhelms people, and it puzzles me. My business is to love. Now, it's dangerous to love as I do. Bliss is so unnatural, don't you think? Well, the path is overgrown with weeds now. I guess it's best to abandon paths when you find they lead nowhere. Do you read the Atlantic Monthly? Well, in the April issue, 1862, an article appeared inviting young writers to submit their work to the literary critic, Mr. Thomas Wentworth Higginson. Oh, this is what I'd been waiting for. Sue agreed. We spent days picking out just the right poems. Sue, what about this one? The pedigree of honey does not concern the bee. A clover to him at any time is aristocracy. Oh, this one. A bird came down the walk. He didn't know I saw. He bit an angleworm in halves and ate the fellow raw. Oh, no, Sue, no bird poems. Wait, I have it. Safe in their alabaster chambers. Dear Mr. Higginson, are you too deeply occupied to say if my verse is alive? The mind is so near itself it cannot see distinctly, and I have none to ask. Should you think it breathed and had the leisure to tell me, I should feel quick gratitude. I'm not going to sign it. But I'll put my name on a note card and I'll slip it in among the poems. He'll find it. He'll look for it. Emily Dickinson. No. E. Dickinson. Mysterious, no? That is provocative. It ought to whet his curiosity. And then, when he reads my poems, oh, won't he go wild? Mr. Thomas Wentworth Higginson, Atlantic Monthly, Washington and School Streets, Boston, Massachusetts. I am going to be famous. Safe in their alabaster chambers. Untouched by morning and untouched by noon, sleep the meek members of the resurrection, rafters of satin and roof of stone. Light laughs the breeze in her castle of sunshine, babbles the bee in a stolid ear. Pipe the sweet birds in innocent cadences. Oh, what sagacity perished here. Grand go the years in the crescent above them. Worlds scoop their arcs and firmaments row. Diadems drop and doges surrender, soundless as dots on a disk of snow. Professor Higginson answered my letter, but not in the way I had hoped. I thanked him for the surgery. It wasn't as painful as I supposed. He did ask to see more poems, and I sent them. Oh, I wrote him often. 8 years of correspondence. And then, when I was 40, the incredible happened. Mr. Thomas Wentworth Higginson was coming to Amherst. Oh, it's time to smooth the hair and get the dimples ready and wonder that we could care about that old, faded midnight that frightened but an hour. Oh, Mr. Higginson, and I to meet you. How long are you going to stay? Oh, what I mean is, why has it taken you so long? But what I mean is, I know that you were busy. You were away at the war. The Civil War, was it? Yes. Well, now to the purpose of your visit. I have been waiting to hear from your lips what you are planning for my poems. I have them all right here, all the ones I've sent you, and I have thousands more you've never even seen, enough to fill several volumes, I should think, and I would prefer Moroccan bound. Oh, but I'm sorry, Mr. Higginson, and I'm giving you a chance to say anything, but could you tell me how to grow? Or is that unconveyed, like melody or witchcraft? Please, feel free to choose the poems you think are best for the book, and as for a publisher, I will rely solely upon your judgment. You are my preceptor. No, my meter is new. It's experimental, it's not spasmodic. Bad rhymes? If you could just understand what I'm doing, if I could just explain it to you. Uncontrolled? Why, Mr. Higginson, when I try to organize, my little force explodes. But surely a publisher will. Surely A great hope fell. You heard no noise. The ruin was within. O cunning wreck that told no tale and let no witness in. I still send him my poems, but always from his polite replies I get the uneasy feeling they end up in some dusty drawer in his office. Perhaps no one will read my poems. They seem to me like some undelivered letter lost in transit. Going to be famous. If fame belonged to me, I couldn't escape it. If she didn't, the longest day would pass me on the chase. Why sing, since no one hears? It's my business to sing. I'm nobody. Who are you? Are you nobody too? There's a pair of us then. Don't tell. They'll banish us, you know. How dreary to be somebody. How public, like a frog, to tell your name the livelong day to an admiring bar. Vinny says that my withdrawal into seclusion was only a happen. I suppose my not marrying was only a happen too. I don't regret my aloneness. I accept the pattern of my life as it came to me, or as I caused it to be. I know I'm plain, like the wren, but my hair is bold like the chestnut burr, and my eyes like the sherry in the glass the guest leaves. I only had one picture taken of myself when I was 17. This daguerreotype. You see? Plain. Now there's a word not to lift your hat to. But this is Vinnie's touch, the neck ribbon. She made it herself. Oh, I know what they say about me. Poor Emily, the only kangaroo among the beauties. Is it any wonder that I keep it in a drawer? But plain or not, I'll have you know, I had more than one suitor. And they were all married and older than I. But really, there was only one. Only one. Oh, it was years ago in Philadelphia. I was 24. Now, I hadn't planned on telling you this. No. Vinnie and I visited Father when he was a congressman in Washington. And on the way home, we stopped for 2 weeks with the Colemans in Philadelphia, where Charles Wadsworth was minister. On that first Sunday morning when I laid eyes on him, it was as if heaven's own lightning had struck me. There before me was a Christ-like man. I couldn't shake the enchantment even after I returned to Amherst. I wrote him letters, hesitant at first, cautious letters, asking about spiritual things. And then, in his replies, I detected a response not unlike my own emotions. It is an exquisite experience to love someone in a bodiless way, like two fleshless lovers forever one. Wild nights, were I with thee, wild nights should be our luxury. Futile the wind to a heart in port, done with the compass, done with the chart, rowing in Eden, the sea. Might I but moor tonight in thee. I called him my master. I saw him only twice in my life, 20 years apart. The first time in 1860. And then he came to me 3 years ago. I crossed the hall with mingled steps, I silent past the door. I look at all the world contains, just his face and nothing more. Oh, Master, where have you come from? The pulpit to the train? Oh, why didn't you tell me you were coming that I could have it to hope for? Oh, then you didn't know you were coming, you just came. How long was your journey? 20 years. Yes, it has been that long, Master, hasn't it? Oh, no, but I am older, too. Oh, say I may wait for you. I have waited a long time, but I can wait more. Oh, Master, open your life wide and take me in, and I will be your best little girl. No one will see me but you. Forgive me. I know. I cannot live with you. That would be life. And life is over there behind the shelf the sexton keeps the key to. Our life. His porcelain, like a cup discarded of the housewife. So we must remain apart. You there, I here, with just the door ajar, that oceans are, and prayer, and that pale sustenance, despair. Oh, Master, I am so moved to be able to look into your face while you look into mine. Will you return to Amherst? You can't. Oh, I understand. I am content now. I will always be content. Goodbye, Master. It is easier to look behind at a pain than to see it coming. When the best is gone, I know that other things are not of consequence. The heart wants what it wants, or else it doesn't care. Last year, in April, my master died. Will there really be a morning? Is there such a thing called day? Could I see it from the mountains if I were as tall as they? Has it feet like water lilies? Has it feathers like a bird? Is it brought from distant countries of which I have never heard? Oh, some scholar, oh, some sailor, oh, some wise man in the skies, please to tell a little pilgrim where the place called morning lies. I still write poetry, but not as much as I used to. There are so few listeners, and those who should be the best listeners, like Professor Higginson, are deaf. The last afternoon that my father lived, though with no premonition, I preferred to be with him. He seemed peculiarly pleased as I often stayed by myself, and he remarked as the afternoon withdrew that he would like it all not to end. I woke him for the train the next morning and saw him no more. We were eating our supper on the 15th of June when Austin came in with a dispatch in his hand, and I saw from the look on his face that we were all lost. Father was very sick. Later, news came from Boston. Father was dead. Father doesn't live with us now. He lives in a new house. Though it was built in an hour, it is better than this. He hasn't any gardens because he moved after gardens were made. So we take him the best flowers. And if we only knew, he knew, perhaps we could all stop crying. Austin leaned over the coffin and kissed Father's forehead. There, Father, he said, I never dared do this while you were living. Excuse me. This is the hour of lead, remembered if outlived, as freezing persons recollect the snow. First chill, then stupor, then the letting go. I dream about Father every night, always a different dream, and forget what I'm doing daytimes wondering where he is. Without any body, what kind can that be? Hold your parents tenderly, for the world will seem a strange and lonely place when they are gone. Oh, how I wish I were just a blade of grass. Then all these problems of the flesh wouldn't trouble me. Why are we afraid of this little body? Why do we cling to it? We're sad when others let go. If my own machinery should get slightly out of gear, please, someone, stop the wheel. But then there are the children. Oh, thank God for that. They keep my imagination keen and alive. Austin and Sue gave me a niece and 2 nephews. Ned and Martha are the oldest. Little Gilbert was born when Ned was 14. One time, when Gilbert was stung by a wasp, he said through his tears, he begged Sue through his tears to read the Bible to the wasps. And when he was 6, he and a friend put on an animal show. We asked him what he was going to do with the money. He said, we're going to give half the money to the college and half to the cat. October is a mighty month, for in it, little Gilbert died at age 8. Typhoid. Oh, not my little Gib. I see him in the stars and I meet his sweet velocity in everything that flies. The little boy we laid away never fluctuates, and his dim society is companion still. His last words in delirium were, open the door, they're waiting for me. Used to his commandment, his little aunt obeyed. Who were waiting for him? All we possess we would give to know. All that and more, dear friends. Though is there more? More than love and death? Tell me its name. It's been a curious winter. I haven't felt well much, but spring has come. The lawn is full of south and odors tangled. Ah, spring is a happiness so beautiful, so unique, so unexpected. I don't know what to do with my heart. I was making my cake with Maggie 8 Saturday noons ago, and a strange darkness came over me. I woke to find Austin and Vinny and a strange physician bending over me, and supposed I was dying. I want a buttercup on my grave. Surely the grass will give me one. I want to be carried out in a small white coffin, out the back door of Homestead, into the blue, beloved air, through my gardens and Father's barn, and out across the meadows to the burial ground. And for my requiem, that phraseless melody the wind does. Life is short, isn't it? I wonder, when this one is done, is there not another? And then, if God is willing, perhaps we are neighbors again. The name they dropped upon my face with water in the country church, Emily Elizabeth, is finished using now. They can put it with my dolls, my childhood, and that empty spool I finished threading. Because I could not stop for death, he kindly stopped for me. The carriage held but just ourselves and immortality. He slowly drove, we knew no haste, and I had put away my labor and my leisure too for his civility. We passed the school where children played, their lessons scarcely done. We passed the fields of grazing grain, we passed the setting sun. We paused before a house that seemed a swelling of the ground. The roof was scarcely visible, the cornice but a mound. Since then, 'tis centuries, but each feels shorter than the day I first surmised the horses' heads were toward eternity. It's 6 o'clock. I promised Vinny I'd help peel the apples. Do you know something? Our visit was easier than I thought it was going to be. We seldom have guests anymore. Oh, but there is one more thing. This is my letter to the world that never wrote to me, the simple news that nature told with tender majesty. The letters are committed to hands I cannot see, for love of her sweet countrymen, judge tenderly of me. And when you make my cake, please tell me how you like it. And when next we meet, I'll give you my recipe for gingerbread. Gingerbread. Now there's a word to lift your hat to. Vinny, I'm here.
Great job, guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for coming. If anybody has any questions about Emily Dickinson, you can certainly ask. If there was anything that, she was a very odd character. So if anybody has any questions, you can just come up and ask me. I'm here to talk to you if you want. Okay, thanks so much for coming. Go Earth Sweet.